So they are a humongous fish, the second biggest fish in the world.
I refer to basking sharks as the derpiest fish in the ocean because they're just so massive and so weird looking. But I always also have to tell people that they're about the size of a small school bus because I think people don't quite grasp the scale at which they operate.
And they're just really majestic as they move through the water.
Essentially like a mini submarine, that when you're in the water with them and they go past, you just can't believe their size. Up to 12 meters long, with the mouth open coming towards you, you think, uh-oh, it's going to swallow me. And of course, just at the last moment, they close their mouth and turn away.
And it's like getting a window into a prehistoric world. You're seeing an animal that's been around for 400 million years, so it's a very special experience.
And what surprised me, I suppose, when I first saw them, was not just how big they were, but how wide they were as well. But they're just so long and actually very bendy in the water when you see them. Their swimming is just very graceful, even though they're so large. So I don't know how I would describe them, but you'll know when you see one. So we are here today in Galway and we're at the International Basking Shark Conference. And that is bringing people together from all around the world to discuss basking sharks, basking shark research, basking shark conservation, and to, I suppose, lay out the way forward to protect these amazing gentle giants in our waters here in Ireland and beyond in the years to come.
So basking sharks, I think they capture people's imaginations in a way that not many other species do. Sharks and rays in general have been around for much longer than we have, but we know that we are running out of time to save them from extinction, and the basking shark is one of those species.
Sharks are important because they are so diverse. They're in all of our oceans in almost every single niche, and people aren't aware of how much diversity there is globally, but also around our coastlines. And the basking shark, it can be a gateway shark for other people to then fall in love with the rest of the group.
I think at this stage in basking shark conservation, we're dealing with remnants of their former population in many places. So it's really key to have a global perspective on where these sharks are showing up and why. And that's really hard to do in a lot of places where you don't see them consistently, which is why doing that in Ireland is so critical. If we think about the fact that their hotspots might change, right? They are dynamic. That's something that we've started to find. We need to understand why they're dynamic in order to identify the areas we can protect them in the future.
So I came here because I have been working with basking sharks with breaching behavior, and I came here just to present this new project. Basking shark is a very small circle of people that works with them, so it's fantastic that we can meet all together in one place.
So I've come to represent the Marine Beacon project. It's a project looking to help us understand species that are at risk to bycatch and then try and produce the knowledge and the tools to help produce that. And so I'm here to learn about basking sharks, to try and better understand where they might be at risk, and to also run a workshop here to help collect knowledge to improve our understanding of that.
I've been looking at basking sharks for the Southwest Atlantic Ocean, historical and recent records. The species used to be more common. It was associated with whaling fishery in the past centuries, and it has suffered a decline, a steep decline, I would say. So it's something that we should be aware that it's still there. Reduce threats like impacts with boats and bycatch. It's a very important species, and it should be there for future generations to look up to.
So a torus is basically a slow circling formation of basking sharks. It's called a torus because it's a circle, but through depth, so it has 3 dimensions, like a spinning bagel structure. And we think that that's linked to some sort of speed dating behavior. And this is where lots of large animals are squished into a small space. And so there is a problem there in as much that if human activities, potential threats overlap with these incredible behaviors, which are absolutely fundamental to their life history process, there's the real potential for collision, and where there's fishing operations, entanglement. So protecting the areas where these toruses are happening is absolutely important, because they actually occur nowhere else in the world in the frequency and the diversity that we're seeing.
So the Shark Trust was established in 1997. We've been collecting sightings for a large portion of the Trust's history, and we've seen a huge change in where we're seeing them reported. A lot of our records come from the Devon and Cornwall, and around 10-15 years ago the sightings really started to dwindle. So if you look at the Shark Trust's database for the basking shark sightings alone, it looks like they've completely disappeared. We know that a lot of them are now using the west coast of Ireland. It would be great to link up the data sets and kind of share information so we can complete that bigger picture.
So the workshop that we held was on data coordination and sharing different data sets with each other. Because there are so many different groups working on basking sharks, everybody has their own data set, which is amazing. But if you're looking at the data sets in isolation, then you can miss part of the bigger picture. So we've created this data directory, which is just a very simple kind of online database basically, and then just signposts to either who you need to contact to request the data or where you can access it if it is online. And it will hopefully just make the whole process much more collaborative.
With the public sightings recording scheme, we can follow on the long term the occurrence of the species, and we see that there is changes. There is less sightings, changes that we can find in other parts in European waters. And with satellite tracking, we can see the connection between Brittany and other areas, particularly Ireland, but also Scotland and the Isle of Man. Also to the west coast of Africa. It showed the importance to work in collaboration with other countries.
The importance of basking shark in the wild. We work on the kind of wide spectrum of an lifestyle of different animals, like with different longevity and body size. Species with the large size, long life, are sort of underrepresented in our studies and knowledge. Yeah, and then, I mean, basking shark is not the only one, but very important to cover a wider spectrum.
They're just such a wacky animal. There's loads of reasons why they're unusual. Some of the stuff that we're working on in the moment is trying to understand a bit more about how they deal with temperature. So how they deal with temperature that they produce themselves by their body, and then more importantly, how they deal with temperature variation in the environment and linking those two things together, which can be really helpful for understanding all aspects of biology. But I think specifically, and perhaps more importantly at the moment, with environmental temperatures changing and predicted to change in the future, it also helps us, I think, have better understanding of being able to predict and forecast what might happen to these animals if the ocean continues to change, which it probably will.
What I would like to see come out of this conference is continued conversation, right? We're not going to solve all issues related to basking sharks in these 2 days. But what we wanted to do was bring people together so that they could start to have these discussions about what they're seeing in other parts of the globe and how we can best protect them where we're finding them. So I am so excited to have such a global community involved in this conference. And I think that the impacts will resonate ideally to not only the people here, but also their networks worldwide as well.
I would love people to learn more about the best practices, to spread our code of conduct around, for there to be more discussion about how to have kind of like ethical and safe tourism when it comes to basking sharks. I would love for this to end up with a push to have more signage at headlands and hiking trails that tell people like look at the water, and also please send us sightings reports telling them how to do so. And I'd just love to see some more international collaboration and some more research and inspiration that comes out of it.
I think really data sharing and being very inclusive and open-minded about new ideas and trying to synthesize knowledge that is already there, because we have so much different kinds of data, be it qualitative, quantitative data, and integrating that is one of the key challenges. And for that we need to join forces in our data and collective research efforts.
I've been in basking shark research for about 30 years, and when I first started there was no one to talk to, no one was really working on it. And this conference has been absolutely amazing because it just shows how many people are coming into the field from all ages, all countries, and just the passion, and what they're finding is going to be so important to, let's face it, protect the future of these ocean giants.
I came to this conference hoping that it would lead to some positive change and some positive momentum. I'm coming away like way more positive even than I was, just by seeing the engagement that this community's come together, people from government, scientists, citizen scientists. It feels like a really positive momentum sweeping not just Ireland, but Ireland as a kind of centrepiece of hopefully basking shark conservation in the region. I think I'm like super motivated and feel encouraged by it. Yeah.
So the conference has been fantastic. You know, we have some of the best scientists and minds working on basking shark and marine science in the world here at the minute. I also want to see, I suppose, a renewed vigour and momentum to, doing all we can on the policy and legislative side of things as well. We want to be talking about a statutory code of conduct, and that kind of guides, I suppose, how people interact with basking sharks and how to do it safely. I think protecting basking sharks is important because we have a duty here in Ireland. We are extremely lucky that basking sharks turn up in our coastal waters every year. They are charismatic, they're amazing, they are life-changing, I think, to see, and that's not overstating it. They come here in huge numbers. I think it's our duty and responsibility to look after them while they're here, and that they leave safely then to wherever they might want to go later in the summer. And that's pretty much what it's all about for me.